Thanks everyone for getting together. We're here to talk about all your success in the ACCP Clinical Pharmacy Challenge. I guess before we get started, if everyone could talk a little bit about themselves, and I'll go into some questions about that journey. I guess Bria, we could start with you.
Sure. My name is Bria LaBelle. I am a current P4 student here at Manchester. I am currently the P4 president and the P4 student liaison to the ASHP organization. Currently in my off month during APPEs, which is the time that we've been waiting for since P1 year to take a break. And what drew me to Manchester, I think the small community setting, it really drew me here. When I first came here, I saw the PGX program and I saw how everyone connected with each other. And that really was somewhere I wanted to see myself fitting in. And I don't regret it, not one bit, because I was truly able to thrive since day one and take a lot of opportunities that I've been given and really maximize them.
I wasn't surprised at all. Bria's my mentee, and so she's been doing amazing things, and I will take some credit for that. So knowing she was part of this, I wasn't surprised. So thanks, Bria. Megan?
Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Gashrovsky. I'm also a P4 student at Manchester University. While I've been at the pharmacy program, I've been a student ambassador to help with recruiting, and then I've also been a teaching assistant for a couple different courses. And I really just have to echo what Bria has said about why I chose to attend Manchester. I really love the small community feel amongst the students and the faculty. I attended Manchester University's main campus in North Manchester for my 2 years of pre-pharmacy undergrad. And I really loved the environment that I experienced there with the small community. And I knew that that would translate into a great experience at the pharmacy school as well. So I've really been able to interact with the faculty, allow them to get to know me better, and being able to work more closely with them, especially as working with my research faculty mentors on my research project this year was an opportunity that I had been able to take advantage of and really been able to work with the faculty and allow them to work closely and get to know them better as well. So definitely that small community feel that Bria had talked about was something that really drew me to Manchester as well.
Thanks, Megan. Yeah, Megan's another one of our all-stars. So Dr. Ish, you had a superstar team, and we did have some other students on there that unfortunately weren't able to make it with us today. But Dr. Ish, can you talk a little bit about yourself and I guess then go into what this challenge was and your role as the faculty mentor here, and just give us some background on the Clinical Pharmacy Challenge.
Sure. Yeah. So, my name is Jason Ish. I'm from Bluffton, Indiana, which is about 45 minutes of the Fort Wayne campus. Graduated from Purdue in 2015 and then did 2 years of residency in ambulatory care. So that's like basically chronic disease state management up in South Bend at St. Joe Health System. And that's actually where my practice site is. So I've been at Manchester for 6 years. And this is my clinical site, the same place I did my residency. A little bit about ACCP. So I've been involved in ACCP, which is, let's see if I can get this right, American College of Clinical Pharmacy. I've been involved in that pretty much since I graduated from Purdue in 2015, but it's really an organization that kind of promotes like clinical pharmacy. So really just meaning like pharmacists working at the top part of their license. So this challenge, the Clinical Pharmacy Challenge, is kind of meant to allow each of the pharmacy schools across the country to kind of showcase their brightest students and kind of compete together. So it's pretty cool that ACCP puts it on, and I'm pretty involved in that too. So it naturally was a good fit for me to kind of coach this team. So every year they do this challenge. It's open to anybody in your school. Usually it's your students that are coming from the P4, the last year of pharmacy school, because they hypothetically at their peak of their knowledge. I think this year there was around 120 some schools that were competing. Basically there'll be like an initial first round, and 3 students at a time for each school will be able to compete. You're just kind of competing that first round online at your own pace, but it does have a pretty quick time period. So you got to go through pretty fast and answer questions. So if your school is the top half of that first round, you make it to round 2, which would be 64 schools. And then if you're in the top half of that, you make it to the next round, 32, and it just keeps going on, online rounds until the final 8 teams. And so if you make it to that final 8, which would be like round 5, you get to go to the annual clinical meeting, which this year in 2022 is in San Francisco. So that's kind of like the basics. Basically, then each of these rounds, again, it doesn't take a very long time to compete. It's kind of 3 phases. The first phase, if I remember right, was like a trivia or lightning round, like 15 questions. Then there's a clinical case with 5 questions. And then the final phase is a Jeopardy round. So very much like you'd see on TV. So each of those online rounds was like that. And just some context, these guys made it to round 5. So they basically did this 5 different times. And
So we started with...
Go ahead.
Sorry, we started with around 132, and they made it to the top.
Final 8. Yeah.
Final 8.
So they beat out about 120 other programs. I mean, this was a huge feat and something like we've never done in most schools, especially even locally. No other schools in Indiana, a couple in the Midwest made it, but well, I can talk more about that in a bit. But yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess for the students, your perspective, first, why did you want to be a part of this, and then can you tell me just what that was like going through each round and being successful? And then what was it like ultimately, getting invited, going in person, and being one of just, top 8 teams being that successful there? What was that journey like?
I can go first. Well, originally, the 2 students, Cecilia and Caleb, they reached out to me to be a part of the clinical challenge, and anything those 2 asked me to do, they know I'm going to do it. So I was happy to jump on board, and I didn't realize how much fun it was going to be. We are all really competitive, so we were ready to put our brains together and really try to get through the competition. We did honestly have a little self-doubt at first, but Dr. Ish was there to cheer us on, so it was really great. And we were kind of like, after the first round, it's just luck. Then the second, okay, maybe we're a little lucky. And then after, we got closer, it's like, we really may be an intelligent group of P4s. So it really built our confidence up, and I wouldn't have chose to bring anybody else along the ride, including Megan as well. We really did great, and to be invited to San Francisco was amazing. The scenery was amazing, and getting to experience this with my classmates will go in my memories forever.
Megan, what was your experience like?
So I was the alternate for the first couple online rounds. And then Caleb was not going to be able to go to San Francisco, so that's kind of where I came into play. And I decided to go ahead and go with the team to San Francisco to compete in the live quarterfinal round. I honestly didn't really know what I was getting myself into when they asked me to go. I wasn't really a whole lot sure what to expect. But I knew that it would be fun and be a great experience competing with the team in the live quarterfinal round, and that we would be able to test our knowledge to see kind of what we knew based on like rotations, everything that we learned in school. I felt that, and with my experiences with the team, that we all had a little bit different of experiences that we were able to bring to the table. So when we were working through the questions in the live quarterfinal round, everyone kind of had their own unique experiences that they were able to lean back on and help to contribute to work with the team as well. So kind of just echoing what Bria said, it was a really great experience. I'm glad that I had the opportunity to be a part of it, and definitely something that I will remember forever from pharmacy school going forward.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that. I was going to ask that question of the questions that you get. Was it a lot of you just have to know it right then and there, or was it a lot of let's work together? I have this kind of perspective. I've seen a little bit of this before. I think this might be the best. How did you guys work as a team to arrive at the best answer?
So some questions were very easy. I think everyone knew, or maybe one person, just said, I know it's this. And we kind of all trust each other because we talk to each other through pharmacy school. So if someone says this is the answer, we tend to just not argue. So that is also how we was able to get through the whole question series. We just trusted each other, but there were a couple of doozies that I don't know. I'm not sure who would know that that answer. So we kind of gave it our best guess, and we kind of talked about it, debated with each other to figure out the answer. But like Megan said, we all have our different strengths. Some people are good at ER questions. I was in the ICU previously, so I was able to answer the ICU question. So we all kind of brought something different and used that to answer the different type of questions.
I know you're both really, great students, so obviously that goes a long way. But what do you think did prepare you to be so successful? Do you think it was your experience in APPE so far? Were there certain courses that you realized you kind of leaned on a little bit more, certain experiences in pharmacy school? What do you think, set you up to be so successful along the way?
Speaking from my experiences in the quarterfinal rounds, a lot of the questions, especially in the Jeopardy, they were focused on infectious disease or emergency medicine. So if you had rotations in those areas, that was definitely a benefit to having that person on your team versus some of the other, because I know Cecilia, she had done some rotations in the ER, and so especially for those questions, she was able to rely on that knowledge based on her rotations experiences. But I definitely think that all of our therapeutics courses throughout school definitely laid a great foundation for us to rely on that knowledge and to kind of pull back from what we had learned in class to be able to answer the questions as well. So definitely a combination of the two. And the questions had different, varying levels of depth and what they required you to know. So definitely for more of the basic, straightforward questions, I would say from our experiences in class and everything that our professors had taught us, and then for more of those nuanced, detailed questions that were the higher points on the Jeopardy game, definitely relying on what you had learned in rotations.
Any psych questions you can point to interaction with me that helped out there? Heard a lot of infectious diseases, so.
I think there were a few psych questions that we knew. There was a couple. Oh, I remember one. It was about the generation of antipsychotics, and I'm so sorry we have failed you because we did get it wrong, but we looked it up afterwards at least, so that was good enough.
That's okay. That's fair. Dr. Ish, what do you think about this group, and how involved are you? And I know there's only so much you can coach. We're talking about 4 years of pharmacy school. You can't give them a complete review of everything, but what do you think made them successful, and how they worked as a team, and just going through and being successful each round? As Bria said, it's sometimes you just jump into it and you see what happens, and then you start maybe surprising yourself or start getting confidence. And how do you work with a group of really young, talented students to keep them on this journey?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so there's some things where coaching is really important. This is not one of those things, I don't think. We just kind of put the group together, and no, it's all on them. I mean, they're an incredibly bright group of students. So, I mean, the number one most important thing is just you have to know your stuff. So, there's no really backhanded or crafty way that you can keep moving on other than just knowing the answers to these questions and in a timely way. So that gets more and more important then when you get to the live rounds of knowing them very quickly. So yeah, I mean, just number one, these guys are all really smart. They put in a ton of time studying, and you can tell each of them kind of complement each other in different ways too. So in our online rounds, Caleb was kind of our captain, and if no one really knew it and he kind of had a guess, he would just kind of go for it. And Bria and Cecilia would definitely, they had the trust, be all right, cool, we just go for it. But they equally had that say. So it's just kind of cool to see them work together and not get phased when they get one wrong. They were just on to the next. So and then like they were saying, that first round we made it on. We're okay, cool, it's house money. We can just kind of see how far we go. I think every round they kind of got more and more confident, where, other groups probably were like more and more nervous. These guys kind of just had more and more fun. So, and just another kind of crazy thing, Caleb got married the Sunday or Saturday after the Friday round to go to San Francisco. So like he's off in his like wedding rehearsal the day after that they competed that last online round. And so, I mean, it was quite a, yeah, he didn't let that shake him. He was going to get married the next day, and he's winning rounds. So
yeah, I love where his priorities are there. Just, mixing everything all together, quickly changing the honeymoon, maybe to San Francisco. I don't know what, but I think that goes to show our students too. Our students they have full lives, and they've come from all different backgrounds and have all different other things going on. And to be able to juggle both of those at the same time, I think is pretty impressive. But that's the type of student that we get. I like that you mentioned confidence there. I mean, for our students, how did this help with your confidence? I know when you're in that fourth year of pharmacy school, sometimes you think, I should know everything, and then you run into things that you don't know, and you're like, well, I don't know everything. Shouldn't I know everything by now? But then you have other times in which you do know, and you are prepared. And I think this is a great display of the confidence that you should have. But how has this set you up, thinking about your future and the confidence you have of being practicing pharmacist in just a few months?
Sure. So at first it was a little nerve-wracking, but as we moved forward and I was really able to apply everything I was learned during my ABI rotations, like infectious disease and the intensive care unit, I was like, wow, I'm truly learning something, because sometimes when you're in the moment, you don't realize how much you're truly learning. So when I was able to see a question that I just saw a patient experiencing the week before, I was like, oh, I can relate to that. I know exactly what that answer is. So you kind of get imposter syndrome when you go into APPEs, meaning that you don't really feel inadequate. You're not really sure. Your feet are a little wobbly, but that really solidified my place as a future pharmacist. So I'm very appreciative of the opportunity because it truly let me know that I'm progressing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything that Bria had said. Competing in the competition definitely gave us an opportunity to see how much we know and to definitely realize, even for some things that, we took a class a year and a half ago, but you still are retaining that knowledge, being able to practice applying that throughout the questions in the competition was really great to definitely help build your confidence in seeing that what you had been learning in school definitely was sticking with you, and being able to apply that both from what you learned in school and then also from what you learned in rotations as well. So definitely a really great experience. And then we also got to apply some of the things that we had learned from school and rotations, but also taking it as a learning opportunity as well. We did attend the other subsequent rounds of the competition after we unfortunately were eliminated, but still being able to practice testing your knowledge with those questions and learning other new things along the way was something I really enjoyed from the experience as well.
I guess, final thoughts and also future. I guess, Dr. Rich, is this something you're going to continue to be our faculty mentor for in the future? And there's a lot of expectations on you now to keep advancing. But your overall impressions or any final thoughts from you, Dr. Rich?
I would love to continue on doing this. This would be the second year that I've done it, and I'm learning a lot too. I'm actually, for the upcoming year, I'll be the chair of the Clinical Pharmacy Challenge, the whole thing. So, going on the front end of this kind of process of developing the questions and seeing how much work goes into it, just for that split moment where then they answer it and it's gone. I definitely want to be involved in this as much as I can, and then, we'll be recruiting for new students in the next one, but it'll be really hard to replicate this success, and I hope there's not that pressure on next year's class.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they did put pressure on them. And then I guess for our students, what plans for your future? I know that you both have plenty of options. I'm sure you're still kind of working through that, but just to kind of update us on what you think you'd like to be, where you like to take your pharmacy career, and where do you think you're at right now?
Well, I'm not sure, Megan, if you did a deep sigh like I just did. Currently, we are in residency interview season, which is, a little stressful because you don't know where you're going to be post-grad, but I'm very confident that all my classmates who are applying to residency, I think will do great. Me personally, hopefully I can land somewhere close. I'm really family oriented, so hopefully I can stay close to my mom and then also have a good experience and gain more clinical knowledge to potentially go into a second year residency, a PGY2, and possibly infectious disease or the ICU. I'm not really sure. I'm going to play it by ear and see how the first year goes to see where I land and what I, like to do, and see if I have any new interests after finishing up my first year. And I'm really excited for graduation. That is the light at the end of the tunnel, which is almost there.
So in terms of my future plans, like Bree said, I'm also in the midst of residency application interview season. So I'm really just excited to see what comes out of that, see what the next few months bring. I'm really passionate about working in the AmCare setting and working with patients directly, having that direct patient interaction, and being able to give back to my community that way. Through working with patients directly. So that's definitely a goal that I have in terms of where I plan to go with my future career, but I'm definitely just at this point taking it one day at a time and kind of trusting the process and seeing whatever comes out of the match and everything going forward after graduation as well.
Yeah, I think obviously this competition, showcased this, but for those of us that know both of you, two future amazing clinicians, amazing pharmacists, and I think just demonstrate living out the mission that we have at Manchester and graduating those of ability and conviction. And our ability obviously has been demonstrated here, but knowing both of you, that conviction piece is there as well. So thanks all of you. Thanks for all the students that unfortunately couldn't make and talk about their experience. But I think just a wonderful way to highlight the students that we have here, the faculty that we have here, and really doing the things that we want to do and doing the things we want to accomplish, and all the great places that it can take you. So we'll keep an eye on both of you and see where you end up. But thanks for making Manchester so proud.